Party, like against the left, uses the idea of U.S. hegemony, colonialism, all of that, to drive a wedge. And then against the right, it's like using this fear of, the U.S. government overreach.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty important. Do we want to talk about that now?
Up to you. I mean, maybe it is worth establishing why TikTok is not the same as Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I mean, this is the thing you see. I've seen a lot online, people saying like, "Oh, only American spyware is allowed."
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of reasons why other social media are bad in different ways and have their problems.
This is not like a defense of Facebook, right? Like, we're not here saying Facebook is good.
I hate Facebook.
But we are here saying that TikTok is really bad.
Really.
And this is why.
Worse.
And we shouldn't be like, oh, well, there's not like an equivalency between TikTok and Instagram. It's not the same for many reasons.
It's best understood as a weapon designed by the Chinese Communist Party to undermine the United States.
Yeah, and I think maybe it didn't start off that way, but it's become that, 100%. But I want to actually, when we're talking about divestment and why, it's interesting that TikTok is making such a fuss about divestment, and because the CEO was interviewed by, I forget which reporter, who was asking him like, well, I mean, the bill doesn't say it's banned, it says it has to be divested, and then he starts being like, well, it's impossible to divest, like, in the time frame, like he starts kind of make some excuse, but then he essentially, like, the line from TikTok is that they cannot divest, but I don't think they can say the real reason why they cannot divest.
What do you think, Shelley, is the real reason?
Well, I think, actually, Desmond Shum had an interesting tweet about this. We had him on the show a couple years ago. He had for many years done business with like CCP leadership. And then his ex-wife was kidnapped by the CCP leadership, and he kind of became a dissident. But he had this tweet where he said, if I were a shareholder of TikTok, I would say a divestiture would be great. The ongoing geopolitical situation sheds such uncertainty that TikTok could not have a capital realization event IPO without divestiture. So basically, like, if you're invested in TikTok, this is actually good because this is a way to actually make money.
Right.
Versus, like, if things keep deteriorating the way they are between China and the US, TikTok is basically going the way of Huawei, right? Yeah. Like, being banned, it's been banned by the EU on government devices. It's been banned by the US on government devices.
It's been banned by the entire country of India.
Yes.
That one is a ban.
Yes. Yeah. And so, like, it's going to where, like, essentially, like, more and more places are going to try to, like, restrict TikTok. So that definitely lowers the value, right? So you're thinking, if you could make money off of this actually might be the best idea. And it doesn't necessarily need to be bought by Facebook, or that's another argument I've seen where people are like, oh, well, we would just be making other social media companies more powerful, right? But back in 2020, when Trump was talking about the TikTok ban, TikTok had actually agreed to do some kind of sale where ByteDance would spin off TikTok into a independent company, and then Oracle would take a minority stake in it. So it wasn't being bought by like another giant social media company. And even now, Rumble says they're interested. Steve Mnuchin is putting together a group of investors.
So can I just say, for Oracle, because remember how Oracle allegedly, this hasn't been proven in court, allegedly helped the Chinese Communist Party build their firewall censorship system? That was Cisco. Oracle provided servers that helped with their firewall. Mm-hmm. And their CEO is not necessarily the most ethical person. So, I mean, you have to be careful about who you sell it to. I mean, Mnuchin, former Treasury Secretary, I mean, he was one of the executive producers of the first Wonder Woman movie, which was pretty good.
That's right. So isn't he also? No, it's not Mnuchin who's behind Truth Social.
No.
That was somebody else.
But I think it's interesting that the idea is also presented that, like, okay, well, you would just be making Facebook a huge monopoly but like, we're not talking about necessarily TikTok doesn't exist. And I think that's what the TikTok wants the conversation to be about banning.
Well, and you were making the point, like, why won't they divest from TikTok? And it's because the Chinese Communist Party won't allow it. And I think Christopher Balding made some good points. So, like, there are 3 reasons why China would not allow it. One, China wants to burn it down to make a point. B, the intel is too valuable and they just want to hold on to TikTok no matter what. Or they don't want U.S. coders to look inside what makes TikTok tick.
I mean, I think that's quite likely that they don't want to expose like the algorithm or just like
all the things it was doing.
Yes, all the weird spying things that it was doing.
Well,
and we can
think
talk
about the
that
Twitter
too.
files, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Imagine like the TikTok files come out and then you see just how much the Chinese Communist Party directly was giving instructions.
And
Yeah.
I think this is now a perfect segue into like what we already know.
Oh, yes.
You want to say something?
I do want to say something, but I think another
So into
reason,
why what we know about TikTok is all right. Go ahead, Sean.
I do think that another reason, I think Balding's points are all really important, but I think another reason is that the CCP, by not letting ByteDance divest from TikTok, is showing how much control they already have over TikTok.
Yeah.
And also, the reason is that they like media warfare, right? Like public information warfare. No, you could call it social media warfare in this case, is really important to the CCP staying in power. Yeah. So,
and that's a point, like everyone who's saying, oh, TikTok really isn't that dangerous. They just don't understand that this is information warfare.
Yes. So they want TikTok because this is the first global Chinese app of influence.
Yep.
Yeah. Like you have WeChat, but that's mostly like restricted to like the Chinese diaspora. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people use it all around the world, but they're all Mandarin speaking Chinese people. So TikTok is used by, 170 million people in the US, as they keep saying.
Yep.
So like that is quite a powerful for the CCP, and they don't want to lose that.
And considering that they were able to activate a bunch of them to call Congress.
Yeah.
Like imagine that power that China has over Americans.
Right. And they got a bunch of people, I mean, a huge amount of people to take a specific action. And it was based specifically on lies that they pushed out to people, right? The lie that it was a ban, the lie that it was a free speech issue. I think there's another lie in there as well.
Government overreach.
I think that it is interesting that apparently this was when it was still in committee. So apparently, according to reporting from Wall Street Journal, that actually caused a lot of Congress people to get really worried and vote for the divestment bill because it made them realize, oh, actually, they do have a lot of power. Yeah. Yeah. So it kind of backfired in a certain way.
Sweet.
I mean, I'm not saying, I once interned at a congressional office, so I think that calling your congressman is a right that people have, and their office is there and people there to pick up the phones to actually so their constituents can, say what they want the congressperson to focus on, and that's totally fine. There's no problem with that. But I think the way that this was handled by TikTok showed the Congress people like how TikTok could be influential.